So I had a community request to focus on a team that had Noctowl, Machamp, and Magcargo, but I recently did a video with Machamp and Noctowl, so I just want to kind of feature one that involved Magcargo primarily. Now, Magcargo is a okay Pokemon. I think it's in a better place than it used to be, but it still isn't quite where it needs to be higher tier. The main people use it with Overheat as well as Stone Edge because it's a solid closer. I'm gonna try it with a Overheat and Rock Tomb to make it play more like a Pidgeot though. So when building this team, I wanted to make sure that I had to cover the weaknesses of the Magcargo really well. The biggest weaknesses it has are going to be water types, of course, fighting types, and ground types. The first Pokemon that I chose to start off with this was going to be my Hypno, because Hypno is a really good safe swap in general, and it's generally good against fighting types, ground types, as well as water types because of how versatile its moveset is. The one thing you're going to notice about the Hypno that I've used today though is that it doesn't have Thunder Punch. And the reason is because I was hoping that people, when they saw the Hypno switch into a water type, that they would assume that I would have a Thunder Punch ready to go. That way I just had more versatility at that point. The amount of times where players assumed that I had Thunder Punch when I was using just Fire Punch or Ice Punch is incredible. The final Pokemon in this team is actually going to be my Trevenant, and the reason why I chose Trevenant was because it's really good against water types, it's great against fighting types, and it's great against ground types. So it literally covers all of my Magcargo's weaknesses. Trevenant itself is actually just a really strong Pokemon. The only concern I had was I knew that with the current meta, there are a lot more Noctowls out there and a lot more Pidgeots. With that being said, we both know that basically Trevenant doesn't do any damage to those two. I think if you decided to run this team, Foul Play is a good second option for Trevenant, and the reason is because it provides neutral damage to Pokemon like Noctowl and Pidgeot, but on top of that, it makes it so you can easily outpace an opposing Trevenant. By using Foul Play, you make that matchup much less bait dependent. So let's get to some battles. So while doing these matches, the queue time started hitting about 1 minute long, which is a little longer than I'm used to, but it still wasn't that bad. The biggest problem was that I started hitting a lot of really bad matchups early in. My first opponent led with an Empoleon, and Empoleon's really popular right now. In a position like this, you go straight to your safe swap Hypno in hopes that they want to switch out because you're clearly not running Thunder Punch, but you want your opponent to think you are. I immediately throw a Fire Punch, which they block, which is great for me, but now they know that I don't have a Thunder Punch. Out comes Pelipper, which is another bad Pokemon for me to see because Pelipper's good against both my Trevenant as well as my Magcargo. And here I am, not playing with Thunder Punch. Although my opponent still has to play around it, so they block anyway just to make sure that I don't take them on one hit with that Thunder Punch. In this position, I know that I resist the Weather Balls, but I go down to Hurricane immediately, so I'm going to try to race to a Seed Bomb in hopes I can take it out. Now I throw the Seed Bomb right away because I want to make sure that I don't basically have to block anything from this Pelipper. If it were to throw a charge move, it could easily be a Hurricane and I have to block that. He brings out a Knockdown, which as we both know is just really bad for me. At this point, I'm kind of out of place. I think if I had a Dark Pulse, I might have been able to do a little more here, but because I don't, it is what it is, and I'm kind of just stuck with the loss, unfortunately. If I'm being perfectly frank, I'm pretty sure even if I had Dark Pulse or Foul Play, I wouldn't have won that match. Yeah, I'm not really sure if there's any way I could have won that game. There were just too many counters on the Magcargo to really kind of help carry that game. And speaking of counters, here comes another Empoleon. So I directly switched into my Hypno. My opponent then directly switched into their Frostlass, which is actually not that bad of a matchup for me. I can throw Fire Punches here, which do super effective damage and can help me win this matchup quickly. Additionally, because I was ahead in energy, I can actually charge to a second Fire Punch pretty quickly in this matchup. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a Shadow Ball here, but I'm actually willing to let my Hypno go because I can Revenge Farm it with my Magcargo and get some good counterplay. Based on the count, this should be an Avalanche, but even if it was a Shadow Ball, I'm okay with taking it because all I really care about this Magcargo is I get at least one Overheat off on the Empoleon. The one thing I'm really praying for here is that the third Pokemon that comes out isn't a direct counter to my Trevenant. Now, my opponent does need to block this overheat. It just does so much damage that it's not something that they have to take, that they can't take lightly. When my opponent brings the Pidgeot and I don't have foul play, I am 100% sure that this game is lost. I don't think there's anything I could do in this game at this point. Although Trevenant is a really good generalist Pokemon, it just is so weak to these Pidgeots and these Noctowns that are all over the league right now. Getting double countered can be pretty rough. In retrospect, what I could have done is I could have tried to go and win the switch, and if I did, I probably would have won the game. But you know, you live and learn, right? At this point, I need to block these moves either way. If it's a Brave Bird, I'm dead. If it's a Feather Dance, I'm dead. It doesn't really matter because of the amount of damage that the Impulling will do with Waterfall. My opponent now switches in to go ahead and get a Hydro Cannon Snipe, and there goes game 2. So we lost the first 2 matches. There were some pretty hard counters over here. I went against the 2 Pokemon I really don't want to see, an Empoleon and a Pidgeot slash Noctowl on the back, both of which just caused me to lose games because I'm bad against those. As I review these matches, I think I probably should have played the safe swap a little better. If I had played safe swap better and won the safe swap, I might have had a better chance of winning both those games actually. In game 3, I see a yellow Stunfisk, which is another bad matchup. Ground is a dull weakness for me. I switch into my Hypno and they switch into Wigglytuff. This matchup is actually not bad. It's a relatively fair matchup. I'm basically going to dish out my Fire Punch as quickly as possible in hopes to take it out. There goes one shield. We're going to go ahead and throw 2 more Confusions and throw a second Fire Punch. They should not block this one. If they do block it, it'd be a little strange, just because that means that they will be faced up against my Magcargo afterward. With Wigglytuff down, I officially have one switch. With the winning switch, I can decide how I want to kind of do my matchup and make sure that I align my Trevenant with the Stunfisk afterward. I'm going to throw Ice Punch here just to get some chip damage, but honestly, if he were to take out my Hypno here, it wouldn't really matter to me. I think they're actually going to try to go for a full farm down, which is fine. It has a ton of energy, but I bring out Trevenant, which is double resisting or resists both of the Stunfisk moves. So I'm going to go ahead and not block here, and then when it throws another attack, I will still not block. I start farming some energy and my opponent quits for game 3. I think if I were to play these matches again, I would definitely try to mirror more that the Hypno is a great safe swap, and it can actually switch a lot of, I guess, switch matches. Both the confusion damage, the tankiness of Hypno, as well as just the utility of all its moves, makes it a really big threat that people either have to block or lose that mid matchup. In game 4, I actually have another bad matchup. It's a Diggersby. I've seen a couple Diggersby before. It usually ends really badly for me. I switch into my Hypno and they stay in, which is a little strange. It makes me think they're weak to Hypno in the back, which means they'll be also weak to my Trevenant in the back. I thought that was going to be an Earthquake. Hyper Beam is a lot more damaging than Earthquake is, and I probably should have blocked it. At the end of the day, I'm not super worried about it because I'm okay with letting my Hypno die, because I can basically revenge farm against the Diggersby and try to go for a late game matchup. Now I know this is going to be a Fire Punch. I'm not sure if I want to block her or not. I decided to let my Hypno go and then go ahead and just try to farm it down with Magcargo. The reason why I decided to farm it down with Magcargo is because I know that all of the Diggersby's moves are resisted by Magcargo. Both Hyper Beam and Fire Punch don't do a lot of damage. After they throw their Fire Punch, I don't fall for the bait. They bring out a Cresselia, which is actually fine for me. I'm going to throw an Overheat here and dip out. I'm actually not 100% sure as to the reason why they decided to not bring out the Cresselia against my Hypno, but I'm sure they have their reason. They throw a move here, but it seemed kind of soon for a Moonblast, so I don't block it, and it doesn't mean it's the Grass Knot. It looks to me they're just trying to get some chip damage out before I took it out. They bring out Diggersby to try to snipe me down with a Fire Punch, but I'm okay with this because I'm just going to block this and then farm it down fully and have just a ton of energy on my Trevenant. When I see that fighting symbol and I know that it's Machamp, I'm really not worried about this matchup anymore, because if I throw 3 Seed Bombs, this fight is over. There was Seed Bomb number 1, here comes Seed Bomb number 2, and now I need to just do 2 more Shadow Claws and go for the 3rd Seed Bomb. 1, 2, Seed Bomb number 3. And there goes game 4. Yeah, I really think my opponent should have switched into Cresselia against my Shadow Hypno, but if I had to guess, I'm going to assume they were probably really afraid of getting hit by a Shadow Ball. In game 4, I see an Empoleon, so literally in this set of 5, every single lead was a bad matchup. The second Pokemon they bring is going to be a Gyarados, which is something I don't want to see because I know that it can actually do a lot of damage not only to my Hypno, but it can also get an Octail off in one hit my Magcargo. I'm going to go ahead and block this because I know for a fact that my Magcargo cannot farm it down from here, and I need to try to get a second punch off if possible. This second Octail I let go, which actually ends up taking me out, unfortunately. I bring up my Magcargo, but my Magcargo here is actually meant to more tank damage than actually do anything beyond. So my opponent throws here, which is fine. This would one hit me, but I'm going to block it because I want to actually keep the injury I have on Magcargo to either throw a Rock Tomb or throw Overheat right away. Now the opponent must block this or it will be taken in one hit. So now that I've gotten that final shield off, I'm going to bring up my Trevenant, and I'm basically going to rely on Trevenant to finish off the game here. They respond with a Shadow Dragonite, which is super bad, but the thing is, I know that I can actually reach Shadow Ball before it can actually bring out its Dragon Claw, which is super important. At this point, I know that I can't outrace the Empoleon to my Shadow Ball, so I'm just going to go for a Seed Bomb and just try to do as much chip damage as possible in hopes that my Magcargo can finish it off with an Incinerate. At that health, that Empoleon is definitely one hit away from going down, and because of that, it can't get off a second charge move, and I win the game. So playing Magcargo was really stressful today. I don't think that I actually saw a single good matchup, but I ended up going overall positive. I think my score at the end of 3 sets was about 9-6. So I won 9 rounds, lost 6 rounds, which is, hey, that's not bad, and this is the team I used for it. Overall, I think it's a relatively good team, but the problem is that the current meta is full of so many water Pokemon, it may not be very good. If you can kind of get around those more awkward matches, it may be worth it, but at the moment, I would definitely shy away from using Magcargo in this current meta, and also in retrospect, probably even Trevenant. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. If you thought the team was really cool, or if you thought that I made a couple misplays, let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to hear. If there's a team that you want to see, always let me know and I'll see what I can do to make it happen. Alright, go look in the Battle League.